Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
You can trust your car to the man who wears the star. He's the man best qualified to take care of your car at every Texaco station, clean across the nation. You can trust your car to the man who wears the star, the big bright Texaco star.
Too bad this guy's not around any longer to handle our money.
Welcome to the Worry-Free Retirement with best-selling author and fiduciary Tony Walker.
If you got it, you don't need it. If you need it, you don't got it. You don't get it, shame on you. Funny, funny, funny what money can do. Them that have it get more of it. The less they need it, the more they love it. And it sticks to them like glue. Funny, funny, funny what money can do.
According to Wikipedia, the first drive-in gasoline station opened in Pittsburgh on December 1st, 1913. Operated by Gulf Refining Company, prior to this full-service station, automobile drivers pulled into almost any general store, hardware store, or even back then blacksmith shops in order to fill up their tanks. On its first day, this particular filling station sold a whopping 30 gallons of gasoline at 27 cents a gallon. It was the first architect-designed station and the first to distribute, of all things, free road maps. Nice touch. Now, assuming you're too young to remember or too old to care, during the 1950s, 60s, and most of the 70s, these full-service gasoline stations were the only way to gas up the old family truckster. Why? Because self-serve pumps didn't exist. Back then, as soon as you pulled up to the pumps of the full-service gas station, you were quickly greeted by a friendly, well-groomed attendant whose first words usually out of their mouths were, "Fill her up." Of course, anxious to pump your gas for you, the attendant would also provide the following free full services. He would pop the hood, check the oil, top off the engine's fluids, close the hood, check your car's tire pressures, and of all things, take time to clean your windshield until that thing sparkled. All the while, you sit in your car and relax. So with such great full service, why in the world did the big oil companies discontinue full-service gasoline stations and make us pump our own gas? Well, it's for the same reasons they always cut back on services, so that the big boys can make more money. Well, today, rather than sitting back and letting someone else do the dirty work for us, you and I are now left it alone to pump our own gas and trust that the fluids in our engine and our oil is up to snuff. And then, of all things, we've got to grab a germ-infested squeegee, something that looks like something on the end of a mop or something, and try to clean off our windshield, usually leaving it worse than when we started. Well, what does all this full service and self-service stuff have to do with your retirement? Well, that's the topic of today's show. Well, welcome, folks, to the Worry-Free Retirement. And yes, I am that little man in the sweater vest, full-service retirement planning specialist and fiduciary, Tony Walker. And before we get started, let me introduce none other than the producer of the show, a wonderful full-service attendant when it comes to producing the radio show, Mr. Aaron Orander. Good morning, Aaron.
Hey, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good, good. And I'm always testing your age and wisdom and knowledge. But did you don't remember the days of full-service gasoline stations, do you?
You know, I almost laughed out loud a second ago. You said something about blacksmith shops, and I just thought, man, the last time I was at a blacksmith was probably my third grade field trip to like Daniel Boone's home or something like that. I don't know. I just thought that was kind of funny when you said blacksmith shop.
But you don't remember the full-service gasoline stations?
Not really. No.
Okay. Well, and the theme of our show today, folks, is this idea of being taken care of. You see, with any type of business endeavor, they all start out the same way. To get a profit, to make a profit, which is perfectly legal, the business has to be super friendly towards the customer, respect the fact that the consumer has other options to choose from, provide great service, and most of all, respect the customer and do what's right by them. Now, in those days, it just wasn't about selling gas, of course, and making money. It was about providing full services. So again, what does this have to do with retirement? Well, folks, you got to understand something. With over 10,000 people turning 65 each and every day, and you retiring and having to hand over your money to someone, there is a huge army of advisors and financial institutions that know you're going to need some sort of service. So, with hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of advisors offering to help you with your 401k and other retirement money, how in the world do you know if these same advisors and the financial institutions holding onto your money are folks you can really trust? In other words, anyone can sell you something, but are these folks going to take the time over the long haul to service what they sell? Well, when I return, I'm going to share with you something I've never shared before. It's called the 4 stages of the retirement cycle. And this graphic that I'm going to discuss with you will allow you to see why the financial world, what they do, what they're up to, and why many of them are not interested in servicing what they sell. You're listening to The Worry-Free Retirement. I'm Tony Walker. I'll be right back. So you've worked 30 or 40 years slaving away at work so you can save away money into your 401k, and now you arrive at the biggest financial decision you're ever going to make, where to invest your 401k plan. Think about it. For all these years, you've had a steady paycheck, compliments from your employer for all of your hard work that you dedicated to them. But now, all of a sudden, you've got to figure out how to replace that paycheck with the money you've been saving. No wonder you're worried about what to do and who to trust with that money, which is why we at Tony Walker Financial are providing a brand new free service called the 10-Minute Fiduciary Phone Call. And here's how simple it is to learn more about our services and our 401k rollover process. First, just log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Once there, click on the Let's Get Started button. You'll be taken to a page. Confidentially, you can fill out your information on the screen and then click below the best way for us to speak together. It could either be myself or one of our other trained fiduciaries. It's that easy. So what are you waiting for? Before you make a rash decision and blindly turn your money over to a complete stranger to invest, consider a name and a firm you can trust, Tony Walker Financial. And, oh, by the way, if you like, you can give us a call to speak to us at any time by phone by simply calling the toll-free number on your screen. I'll look forward to speaking with you soon. Okay, we are with our official appointment setter in our Bowling Green office. And Shanna, somebody's clicked on the Let's Get Started on the website or calls directly and is interested in talking either by phone or possibly a meeting. What happens next on your end?
Once they submit their information through the Let's Get Started link on the website, that comes directly to me. And either myself or Trey, who is also a fiduciary in our office, would reach out to them, see how we can best help them, and schedule an appointment either by phone or in person.
And of course, reiterate, we do not share that information with anybody outside Tony Walker Financial, correct?
That's correct. We do not share any personal information.
So let's say somebody has called or sent an email over the weekend or on a Friday when we're closed. Tell the folks what you do immediately that first thing Monday morning.
That is my first priority on Monday morning. I come in, check all of those messages, and reach out to people as quickly as possible to get those scheduled.
And I know you kind of laugh sometimes when you really tell people, oh, you'll be talking to Tony, or I'm going to be setting up a meeting with Tony. What is their reaction in many cases when they find out they actually are going to meet with the owner of the company?
So people are very surprised. They don't expect to be able to meet with you as easily as I'm able to get that scheduled.
Well, that's awesome, and I enjoy meeting people so much. So I guess in closing, Shanna, what would you say about your specific job function and the rewards that come with it?
I'd have to say, all in all, I really do love my job. I mean, you pay me well. We're off on Fridays. And as I've gotten to know you, it's really rewarding to work for someone who truly does care about his clients.
Well, thank you so much, Shannon. We appreciate all the good work you provide our clients and prospective clients. So you take care and have a good day.
You too. Thanks, Tony.
You're welcome. I am retirement specialist Tony Walker, and I just wanted to take just a couple of minutes to share with you a little bit about my story, my history in this business, and how we've become so successful in helping savers worry less about money. You know, over the past 35 years, I didn't always focus on the saver personality, as I like to call it. Years ago, I used to do a lot of money management. In fact, I've been licensed to sell securities and insurance products since 1986. So I've been able to see all of the major downturns the stock market can offer. But quite frankly, the worst downturn that I experienced personally in my practice was the tragic event of 9/11. You see, right before 9/11, if you go back in time, you could throw a dart at a dartboard and pick your stocks. Everything was doing well. And I guess I took it for granted that everything would always go up. In fact, most of my clients during the 90s were in the stock market and doing very, very well, quite frankly. But then, when they flew into those Twin Towers and everything came tumbling down, not only the Twin Towers, but for 3 years in a row, the stock market went down, I realized that, you know what? I don't like risking my money, and I don't like risking the money of my clients. So following 9/11, I took about the task of trying to find a product and a process that would not only protect my clients' money, but show them how to use and enjoy it. And thus, the worry-free retirement process was born. Now, just to clear up some confusion, a lot of people know that we do a lot of annuities. In fact, some people kid in my business, call me the annuity king, because personally I've written about as many annuities as anybody in the country. So yes, I love fixed annuities, fixed indexed annuities, and fixed interest annuities. By the way, sometimes people will talk about variable annuities. We do not do variable annuities due to the risk and high fees associated with them. But besides writing a ton of annuities, I still have my roots buried in the investment world. So contrary to what many of our competitors might say, we do provide a great investment platform, one of the lowest cost investment platforms in the industry, currently using Charles Schwab as our custodian. So not only do you get myself with 35 years of experience, but you also get varying products. You get annuities. We offer life insurance. We have investment products through our Charles Schwab platform. And most importantly, you get a team of service experts that's going to be with you in retirement long after the sale. You see, folks, retirement is not just a one-shot deal. You don't leave your employer and roll your 401k over to somebody and say, I've got a retirement plan. Retirement planning is much, much more. In fact, there's a huge difference between a retirement planning specialist such as us and maybe what you would call a wealth manager or money manager or even a financial advisor. So not only are we fiduciaries, but all we do is retirement planning. So that sounds like you. If you feel like nobody's really in your corner, if you don't have a written game plan that you can follow and monitor, if you feel like maybe you got too much money at risk, or that your advisor is not really paying close attention to the details of taxes and fees and Social Security, all that goes into understanding retirement planning, why don't you give us an opportunity? There's no cost or obligation to meet with me in person. If you're retired or nearing retirement, we can help. So why don't you just click on the Let's Get Started button, and when you click on that button, here's what's going to happen. Your information is confidentially sent to our office. We don't share that information with outsiders whatsoever. You will be then contacted and arrange either a phone call with myself or to meet in person to discuss your situation. Well, I look forward to talking to you soon. Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement, and we're talking about service after the sale. In other words, that experience, it really is an experience, folks, where you really sense that somebody truly cares about you, not only just to sell you something, which we'll find out in a minute, anybody can do that, but who is that person that you do business with that you can tell wants to make sure you're taken care of not only during the sale, but afterwards. And Aaron, at the break, we were talking, and I asked you, I said, Aaron, you got anything in mind or somebody you can think of that you really believe really wanted to service what they sold you?
Yeah, so last year I made a big purchase. I purchased my first rifle, and I started, adding things to it. And one thing I added to it is something called a red dot. For those people who, are listening to this, who know about shooting and hunting and everything, you know what a red dot is. It's just like it's like a scope, and it's got a little red dot in the middle of it and everything else. So I ordered it from a company out in California. And when I got it, I opened it up, put the battery in, turned it on, and it just was not right. I mean, the dot was off. There was the glass wasn't cracked, but there was reflections. It just wasn't right. I could just tell right away it wasn't right. So I took some pictures of it and I sent them to the customer service rep at this particular company, and I said, hey, I don't want to be a problem, but I don't think this thing's right. I mean, within a day, they emailed me back and they said, we've got a new one on the way to your house. And they said, don't even worry about sending us the old one back.
Wow.
We're not even gonna, we're not gonna charge you any extra or anything like that.
Well, don't you wish life, folks, would be that easy? Somebody that truly wanted to make sure. Well, basically what they were wanting to make sure, Aaron, is you were happy and satisfied.
Yeah, because I ended up a month later buying something else from them.
Bingo.
If they'd have emailed me back and said, well, did you drop it? Or, well, if they would have been questioning, I probably would have been like, all right, I'm done with them.
That's a wonderful example. This is kind of an example, but this is literally more getting to the heart of the matter. Folks, I think service, I've thought about this for years. I've been in this business for 36 years. I really think service gets down to this basic premise. Let's say you're in the business of selling or servicing, do you really care about the person in whom is trusting you with their money? And I think it's a tough question, but you prove that you care about people and you want them happy by the service. Again, anybody can sell you something, and this is not really a sales job I'm getting ready to talk about, but actually I wanted to bring up, I got to thinking about this, somebody that really cared about me, and ironically, my brother and fellow students, and that was a professor I had at the University of Kentucky. It was either in 78 or 79. I attended there for a few years before graduating from Western. And this was like a Spanish 101 class, an elective. You know how you take these random classes? And me and my brother Marty, he was like, hey, let's take it together. We got to take it anyway. So at the time, the instructor, his name was Dr. McCrary. Didn't know him from Adam.
You mean Senor McCrary?
Yeah, Senor. Hey. But anyway, nice fella, a little bit on the older side, probably looking back. He was probably like 50. We looked at him as an old guy.
Oh, but he was ancient to you, wasn't he?
Oh, and funny thing, now this was 1978, 79. We walk in, he greets everybody, kind of a small class, probably 15 people, and he's smoking a cigarette in class right there on the UK's campus. That's the 70s.
That's the 70s.
Yeah. But what he would do sometimes, Aaron, and I really look back, Marty and I said, man, that was really cool that he did that. And genuinely, he would go around the room and he would ask people what they wanted to do with their lives after college. And, and he wouldn't just let them skim over something. Well, one day, this one guy was funny, and he probably turned out to be a great salesman. I mean, boy, he had the gift of gab and always talking to the ladies, and he was just a kind of a cool cat. And he said, all right, Henry, or whatever his name was, Dr. McCrary, said, what do you want to be, when you graduate? And he goes, well, I'd like to be a stockbroker. And Dr. McCrary puffed on his cigarette and said, why? And he said, well, of course, to help people. And there was this long pause, and I'm waiting to see what Dr. McCrary is going to say, takes another drag off his cigarette and goes, why not become a priest? Yeah. And there was this long silence. I thought, that is a strange, and we all kind of laughed and went on. Well, looking back on that, here's what I think Dr. McCrary was saying. Folks, to be of great service to somebody does not require a lot of money, doesn't mean what kind of profession you're going to be in. To be a great servant requires a great heart. And that's really what we're talking about. So what I want to take you through, folks, let's back up a minute. If you're just now joining us on the Worry-Free Retirement, with 10,000 people turning 65 each and every day, folks, there are so many people that know you need help. It's like gasoline. You can't drive around a car forever. Sooner or later, Aaron, you got to pull into the pumps, right?
Right.
Yeah, you got to get gas. Well, you have to have help at some point with this journey called retirement. The problem is, most people, as I see it, or at least I must assume this because I don't see a lot of service out there, are more than happy to talk to you about your money. They're more than happy to talk to you about turning over your 401k to them. They're more than happy to buy you a free steak dinner. They're more than happy to sit down and run some retirement calculators, incidentally, that I could teach a fifth grader run. That's not retirement planning, folks. For somebody to run you a retirement calculator off the internet or whatever, that's not retirement planning. So let me go over the four stages kind of retirement, Aaron, and what you're going to expect out there, listener. And here's how this all works. Well, the first thing you're going to get bombarded with are marketing messages. Now, before I go any further, let me be very, very clear. This radio show, put on by Tony Walker Financial and produced by Worry-Free Productions, I have to pay to produce the show, and I have to pay for the airtime. So let's cut to the chase real quick, Aaron, right? I'm doing this for educational, but also marketing purposes. Fair enough?
Right. But you're paying for all of it. There's nothing in our show that says, this show brought to you by.
That's right. Texaco or what? That'd be
Texaco
hilarious.
jingle. Texaco when you need gas. Yeah.
So that's a good point too, Aaron. I don't work for any other financial institutions. I'm on my own. Tony Walker Financial is an independent corporation. The buck stops with the owner. You're listening to him, Tony Walker Financial. I have now 14 total full-time employees, getting ready to hire 2 more. I have to make all that payroll. Okay, I don't rely on some big institution or marketing firm, but still, I have to market to the consumer, that's you, about our services. So what is the definition of marketing? Marketing means the ability for someone to transmit a message to you about their products or services. Is that making sense, Aaron?
Yes.
It's not sales yet. So right now you're listening to I'm not trying to sell you anything. There's no way you could even buy anything from me anyway. You're listening to me through the airwaves.
Right.
What you hopefully are saying, or maybe to yourself, there's something that I say that resonates, whatever, but in that marketing message, I've got your attention.
Right. There's nothing even really personal per se with marketing.
No.
People might listen to you and they might say, well, yeah, that's for me. Or they might say, no, not interested.
Yeah, whatever. Car commercials are on all the time.
Right.
Why do they run those so frequently and market their cars to you? What are they hoping to happen at this stage of your life? You need a
car.
Right. And 99% of the time you don't.
My car's out of gas. I need a new car. No, I'm just kidding.
But you don't usually pay attention to marketing when you
Right.
don't need it. But folks, that's why you're getting all these dinner seminar invitations, and that's why you get on the internet and you can Google financial advisors and retirement planning till the cows come home, because they know, assuming you're retired or nearing retirement, you need help. So that's job one. It all starts with marketing. You have to hear a message from someone offering their service or product to you. Okay, so let's go to the second phase of this whole retirement deal. The next thing is sales. Now, I define sales as a presentation that leads to some sort of decision to make a transaction. Okay, let's use the car dealership. They market to you, you come into the dealership, you look around. Actually, the sales process really hadn't started until you look at a car that you think you want, and then a salesman comes up and you go, ooh, I like that car. And then the sales process begins, either through negotiation, the salesman tells you about the pros and cons of the car, whatever. And by the way, I love great salesmen. I think sales is still the greatest profession on earth. I always loved what Zig Ziglar said. He was a master sales trainer. He always said, Aaron, nothing happens till somebody sells something. So folks, for you all that don't like salesmen, maybe you've had a bad experience, but sales in general, high quality, ethical salespeople, I think, are the world's greatest servants because they are making things happen. I agree with old Zig. But anyway, that's the sales process. Now, there is a lot of trust that starts coming in. Wouldn't you agree, Aaron, at the sales process?
Yeah.
And if you don't really know what you're doing, let's take retirement, which it can be very complicated, and all the products, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, A shares, B shares, target funds, annuities, fixed index, variable, immediate, blah, blah. I mean, you could go on and on and on. And in fact, if you Google any of those terms, you'll get conflicting advice and information on all of them. In fact, I've told people, you be careful on that internet researching retirement, because what's going to happen in the end, you're probably going to be totally confused. So that's why, folks, they know that at some point, you are probably, inevitably, going to have to meet with someone. More than likely, if you're a saver, you're going to have to, here's the key word, trust someone. That's why earlier we played that little jingle. Let's play it again, Aaron.
You can trust your car to the man who wears the star. He's the man best qualified to take care of your car at every Texaco station, clean across the nation. You can trust your car to the man who wears the star, the big, bright Texaco star.
Powerful jingle, right? I mean, Texaco put the star up. You had the friendly man, you've done business with Texaco, and you go, yeah, I can trust that man who wears the star. Again, though, unfortunately, we're not all wearing stars, and we really don't know all the time who we can trust. So the sales process is where something has to be transacted. So let's just go ahead and say that, let's use the dinner seminars. I'm not picking on those. There's nothing wrong with the dinner seminar, but you're going to see more and more of them, folks, as we record this show on January 13th, 2021. They're going to start popping up everywhere. But basically, the dinner seminar invitations, the marketing, you go to the dinner, the sales process actually starts there. You don't know it's starting there, but it is. You're going to get a dog and pony show. talking about how great these folks are or whatever they're going to tell you. And then they're going to want to meet. And a lot of times they'll set the appointment right there, Aaron, these dinner seminars. So when you go to these things, remember now you've fallen into the sales funnel. And let's say you trust the person, you hand over your money, and now I call the next stage, Aaron, the onboarding process. Because when something is sold, something has to happen. Paperwork has to be filled out. In our world of finance, money has to be rolled over. Phone calls have to be made, transactions, decisions. It's a lot. And again, though, quite frankly, the onboarding process is something just like marketing, sales, and onboarding. Quite frankly, I could probably teach a fifth grader to do. Seriously. In fact, years ago, I had a large marketing firm who had heard of our success. You met some of these fellas, nice fellas, ladies and gentlemen. They would fly in these advisors from all over the country, and I'd try to train them in our process. And you know what part was the hardest to train? Number 4. And that is called service. So let's go over those 4 steps. So you have the first step would be marketing. If you like what they say, you go to the next step, sales. If you like what they say and you want to buy their product or service, you move to onboarding. So that company or whoever you're working with is going to bring you on board, get everything transacted. But in many cases, Aaron, once they get your money, guess what? It all shuts down. Time and time again, I see this over and over and over, where people come to me, then some years later usually, and I'll say, okay, how can I help you? And they'll say, well, I got these investments I purchased years ago. I got these annuities I bought. And here's what happened, Tony. I haven't heard from these people since. Or the original fellow or lady that sold it to me, they won't even return my calls. Or whenever I call them and ask them to help with something or give financial advice, they won't do it. So what you've fallen into, folks, is really a product transaction. So the 3 steps, those three first steps of marketing, sales, and onboarding are what we call transactional. And again, not to belittle anybody in those 3 steps. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying I could teach a 5th grader to do those 3 steps in my world. I've done this over 36 years. I've trained a lot of people. But back to the folks that I used to try to train, my frustration, and the reason I don't do that anymore, quite frankly, is try to train others. I just focus on my client base and what we're trying to do here at Tony Walker Financial. The reason I stopped doing it was so difficult to transfer my knowledge of service over to those folks. And you know what you need, Aaron, in order to provide great service? Of course, I see all of our clients and anytime they want to see me, but what do you think I need behind me? Who are all these people? People. And do you think people are free to hire?
Not only people, but people who are good at what they do.
Really good. And you got to pay them well. You know, folks, a lot of the people I tried to train, many of them would say, well, Tony, you got all these staff. How do you afford them? And I said, you got to work hard, number 1. You got to provide great service and be very ethical. And you have to pay them well. And it's a sowing and reaping principle. The more you get good people on board, the better you pay them, the better you treat them, the better they will treat your clients. And guess what? Those clients will stay around. So folks, if you're sitting there right now and say, Tony, that really does make sense. Now I know why maybe my advisor never calls me anymore. Or now I know why that I'm one of those 65-year-olds and I'm getting bombarded with dinner seminar ads. I'm getting bombarded hearing more and more people on the radio. There's more and more people, Tony, starting to sound like you. I know you've been doing this for years, but they're just everywhere. How do I begin starting? What do I do, Tony, to basically learn more about Tony Walker Financial and go through this worry-free retirement process? Folks, that's easy. We just got through talking to Shanna. You just call Shanna at the office. She'll arrange a brief time over the phone or in person for you to talk to me personally, the owner of the company. And to do that, all you do is call 877-499-9255, 877-499-WALK, or just as easy, get your mobile device or laptop or computer out and log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Click on the Let's Get Started. We'll be happy to talk to you by phone, a free 10-minute fiduciary phone call, or meet with you at either our Bowling Green, Louisville, or Lexington, Kentucky offices. Do it now. Let us see how Tony Walker Financial can help you worry less about money. Well, we hope you've enjoyed today's program. Next week, it's Service Beyond the Sale Part 2. Good stuff coming your way, but you remember between now and then, if all else fails, you be worry-free.
If you got it, you don't need it. If you need it, you don't got it. You don't get it, shame on you. Funny, funny, funny what money can do.